Alright, here we go. This is the last chapter of Notes of the Underground. Katie and I had an ingenious idea that rather than standing and presenting to you, we would pre-record this over our lengthy weekend so that we wouldn't have to present anyway. So, as we know, this takes place in Russia. Clothing, the bad weather, translates a little bit more into the oppressive culture that the underground man never took a chance to blame someone else for. His intelligence, his intellect, which he prized so much, was his form of vodka. It completely addled him. He probably could have used less intelligence. It can translate into relevance today to study from Notes of the Underground to the wider historical modern context of how we perceive Russia and how Russia perceives themselves and everything around them. When Vladimir Putin would visit Egypt and they performed for him the great Russian national anthem.
Chapter with the underground man pacing back and forth throughout the room after he and Liza have done stuff in the previous chapter, which is not my responsibility to elaborate on, actually. I kind of did stuff. Anyway, so he's pacing back and forth, and Liza's sitting against the bed crying while he wishes she would leave. The underground man explains that the stuff from the previous chapter was his way of revenge. Now, I don't really know how that constitutes revenge, except in his own mind. It was an odd way to do it. But anyway, because he hates Liza for many reasons. He hates her because she's a prostitute. He hates her personally because he's the underground man. He hates everyone. And he hates her because he is jealous. I wonder why. Why? Someone who actually has, love and light in their life, compared with you, underground man. Anyway, this is all in all just terrible way of dealing with your feelings, and he flip-flops back and forth on those feelings, because a whole quarter of an hour ago, chapter 9, not like that. Anyway, during his internal monologue, he figures that Liza probably doesn't understand all of the subtle complexities of his hatred for her, but probably knows that he's actually the worst. I mean, we all do. #same. We all know the underground man is the worst, right? Terrible person, terrible lover. God, did I actually say lover with the underground man?
There goes my dog. She agrees. So, he does actually talk about love, and he, I found this very interesting quote by him. Let's let this man narrate it for you.
In the first place, by then I was incapable of love. For I repeat, with me, loving meant tyrannizing and showing my moral superiority.
some silly mental tyranny, because that's not what friends are. And that's not really what love is, but he just wants to have something to conquer or something to achieve so badly that he's taking it out in the wrong places like this. And that was really interesting to see mid-chapter.
Anyway, the Underground Man is still pacing back and forth in the room, and he's changed his mind about how he feels about Liza. He doesn't quite hate her per se, as he feels oppressed by her presence. He feels like the room has just been filled by this awkwardness between them, and he wants her out so he can breathe again. He then proceeds to drop hints that she should get out. And I think, really, he would have benefited from something like this.
The Whole Begone Sleep System by Stinson, patent pending.
Laughs aside, he really did need that sleep system. The Underground Man's communication skills are seriously lacking. Nevertheless, Liza is clever enough to figure out the subtle hints he's been dropping throughout the chapter and heads for the door. Underground Man here forces a smile, though I picture it as more of a grimace, for the sake of appearances, and then forces a 5-ruble note into her hand so that he can establish his dominance as the customer rather than an actual relationship. Gasp. Sometimes it feels like he's trying to convince himself more than the audience that he's depraved, but I don't know. I won't pretend to be able to put myself in the Underground Man's head completely, nor would I want to, ever.
The Underground Man expresses his sincere surprise that Liza would leave the 5-ruble note. He said that he acted out of the depths of his cruel and calculating mind, which made me think about this little excerpt from SpongeBob with Plankton.
Rats! He's not collapsing from exhaustion, but with a little more pressure, the sponge will crack like an egg. Then I'll be there to feast on the goo of his shattered psyche.
So, next time you start evil scheming, think about Plankton and his little tongue thing. Which is better, chief happiness or exalted suffering? Talk about a really weird game of would you rather. Just trying to figure out whether he was justified, whether to be cruel and mean, or if there's no justification for it. I frankly think there is no justification for it, except that he is a toddler, and so when he feels bad inside, everyone around him must also feel bad inside.
Suddenly, the Underground Man realizes he doesn't hate Liza. He wants her to come back, so he dashes out into the streets after her.
It's all going so well, it's time to get physical.
And I need you now tonight, and I need you more than ever.
But alas, he is too late.
And if you only hold me tight, we'll be holding on forever.
One final flourish to cap weeks
But
of
upon some
effort.
reflection, the Underground Man realizes that he wasn't actually sure why he was running after her in the first place. To beg her forgiveness, he concludes eventually. But then he realizes that even if he had done that, he would have hated himself the next day if he'd kissed her feet or sucked up to her to try and get her to forgive him. And so, changing his mind yet again, the Underground Man congratulates himself for having insulted her, since it'll help her become a better person in the future, or so he thinks. This entire chapter is rife with indecision within the Underground Man. Would he rather resolve his loneliness or maintain his cynicism?
She appears.
And then we come to the end of Notes of the Underground with this final note, which reads, and I'm going to read it. The notes of this paradoxalist do not end here, however. he could not refrain from going on with them. But it seems to us that we may stop here. God bless him. So, poor Underground Man. It's like you're stuck in a big cyclical loop. And he can't get out of it. And so, he did all of this to us and himself. And the only person we can really be sorry for is him, because he's really stuck in his loop. Then when he goes on to say he doesn't want to write from the underground anymore, it's just like kind of building on like, you know what, I just want to move on a little bit. I don't want to be stuck in this crazy mental place, which is kind of hellish, frankly. I would not want to live in his head. So maybe like
Now it's
day
time
tour with
for
an
his grand
excellent narrator. Maybe if David Attenborough was in his head narrating like the strength. So a nice way to finish up with Notes from the Underground is with a metaphor that he decides to go all guns blazing out with. He argues that, how about we let him argue?
We are still born, and for generations past have been begotten not by living fathers. And that suits us better and better.
Someone needs to give him a shovel or flashlight. I don't know. And then end credits.
The official dance